U.S. National Security Advisor Brzezinski flew to Pakistan to set about rallying resistance. He wanted to arm the Mujahideen without revealing America's role. On the Afghan border near the Khyber Pass, he urged the soldiers of God to redouble their efforts.
The purpose of coordinating with the Pakistanis will be to make the Soviets bleed for as much as long as possible.
We know of their deep belief in God, and we are confident that their struggle will succeed. That land over there is yours. You'll go back to it one day because your fight will prevail and you'll have your homes and your mosques back again because your cause is right and God is on your side.
They need everything we have. You know, everything, their infrastructure has to be totally redone, all their facilities, you know, and some of the things we are involved in, these people haven't really had any entertainment all these years. So now you can imagine getting to, you know, a theme park or a little Disneyland.
It is the beginning of the end, but the beginning could be prolonged. And this is why we have to be very careful in how we handle it, and we have to be very careful in trying to understand it.
All along, as we have worked to expand the circle of global condemnation, we have backed up our words with actions. As I've repeatedly said, it does take both words and actions to produce results. Since the unrest began, we have imposed strong financial sanctions on Assad and dozens of his cronies. We have sanctioned the Commercial Bank of Syria for supporting the regime's illicit nuclear proliferation activities. And we have led multilateral efforts to isolate the regime, from keeping them off the Human Rights Council to achieving a strong presidential statement of condemnation at the UN Security Council.
It's completely biased and leaning exclusively on the Syrian government. It doesn't have anything about the need for dialogue, doesn't encourage opposition for dialogue. In fact, our concern is that it's going to push the more extreme, the more destructive elements of the Syrian opposition towards even stronger efforts in order to topple the Syrian government. So that's why we do not like at all what our Western colleagues are trying to achieve by that resolution, and have proposed an alternative to that, to keep the Security Council involved, but to have it involved in a positive way.
The U.S. and its allies will go in to establish some sort of a regime that we approve of, but the process is not going to be a democratic one. The American policymakers who talk about this kind of thing are not themselves deluded. They know perfectly well what they're doing. They know it's not going to work in the long run, but they have other reasons for wanting to have short-term gain.
The NATO alliance would like to build upon any division within the groups or the parties that they have revolutionized against the Gaddafi regime. And according to my own understanding, they would like to see certain provinces being divided inside the state of Libya.
We also have a history of kind of moving in and out of Pakistan. I mean, let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago. And we did it because we were locked in this struggle with the Soviet Union. They invaded Afghanistan, and we did not want to see them control Central Asia, and we went to work. And it was President Reagan, in partnership with the Congress, led by Democrats, who said, you know what, sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's deal with the ISI and the Pakistani military, and let's go recruit these Mujahideen, and that's great. Let's get some to come from Saudi Arabia and other places, importing their Wahhabi brand of Islam so that we can go beat the Soviet Union. And guess what? They retreated. They lost billions of dollars, and it led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So there's a very strong argument, which is, it wasn't a bad investment to end the Soviet Union, but let's be careful what we sow, because we will harvest.
There is word that the CIA has sent operatives into Libya to meet with opposition forces and assess their needs in the event President Obama decides to arm them.
If they had time to consult with the Arab League, and they had time to consult with NATO, and they had time to consult with the United Nations, why in the devil didn't they have time to consult with us?
It has been now more than 10 months that the continuous pressure is mounting against Syria. They are trying to blackmail the government there and the president. They want them to bow to the American pressures. They have been building a siege against Syria. They wanted to internationalize the crisis and to try to bring the international community and the Security Council. They wanted to enact sanctions against the government and the people as well. They have started to make a kind of regional build-up by the Arab League and by the Turks as well. The European Union and many of the European countries have started to use heated debates and heated statements against Syria, its president. They have been targeting the armed forces, they have been targeting the civilians, they have been trying to cut off the different parts and regions in Syria from one another. So the only thing that they resorted for, they wanted to say that the Syrian army, the Syrian military cannot control, is not taking or is not having tight grip over the Syrian capital. They made these kind of explosions because they wanted to exert and exercise more pressure on the Syrian and to tell the Syrians that you have to bow down to the pressures by the United States policy.
It is the only way, the one way